Some hikers fear bears. Some fear getting lost. But after what happened last fall, I only fear one thing. My phone ringing at 3:33 a.m. It started on a solo trip through a section of the Pacific Crest Trail in Northern California. I was between towns, 5 days in. No cell service most of the time, which is why it was strange when my phone vibrated the first night. I woke up inside my tent. The forest was dark and silent. My phone screen lit up. Incoming call, unknown number, 3:33 a.m. I didn't answer. The call stopped after 2 rings. I figured it was a glitch. Bad reception causing random signals. But the next night it happened again. 3:33 a.m. Same unknown number. 2 rings. Call ended. Still, I wasn't scared, not yet. That changed on the 3rd night. I woke up not to the vibration, but to the ringtone blaring. My phone screen flashed as the call came in. I silenced it, but this time, I noticed something new. My GPS app had opened on its own. A waypoint had been added. It wasn't one I'd made, coordinates. I copied them into my map. They pointed to a spot about 4 miles east. Off trail. Deep forest. I should have ignored it. Should have deleted the waypoint and kept moving. But curiosity got the better of me. The next morning, I packed light and hiked toward the location. The forest grew denser. No marked trails, just shadows between the trees. After 2 hours, I reached the coordinates. What I found was strange. An old emergency beacon, the type used decades ago before GPS trackers were common. Rusted, covered in moss. It was still active. A faint red light blinked at the top. I crouched down to inspect it, and that's when I noticed the ground around it. Dozens of footprints, but not fresh. Old, like people had gathered there, circled the beacon, then left in different directions. I felt a shiver crawl up my back. I took a picture, marked the location, and hiked back to camp. That night, the call came again, 3:33 a.m. I didn't answer, but this time the GPS updated itself with a new waypoint. Back at the beacon. I was done playing along. I packed up at first light and hiked toward the next trailhead. But about 2 miles in, something felt wrong. The trail looked familiar. Too familiar. I passed the same bent tree, the same fallen log, the same patch of red moss. I'd already been here. Even though I'd followed the map perfectly, it felt like I was looping. By noon, I realized something worse. No matter which direction I walked, my GPS kept adjusting my route back toward the beacon. I decided to send a message to my brother. My phone still had no bars, but sometimes texts can push through weak signals. I typed, "If I'm not back by tomorrow, search these coordinates." I hit send. The message sat there, unsent, but a reply came instantly. "Got it. Meet me at the beacon, 3:33. Except it wasn't my brother's number. It was the same unknown number from the calls. Panic surged through me. I turned my phone off and shoved it deep in my pack. That's when I heard the voices. Faint, distant. Dozens of people calling out softly, all saying the same thing. 3:33, 3:33, 3:33. I ran. No trail, no compass, just away. Branches tore at my arms and face. My breath came sharp and fast. The forest darkened, and then, without warning, the trees opened into a clearing. The beacon stood at the center, but now it wasn't alone. Around it stood 7 tents, all collapsed, rotten, moss-covered, and scattered near the tents were phones, old models, newer models, all dead. I didn't want to look closer, but my eyes caught one last detail. A phone identical to mine. Same case, same crack in the corner. It buzzed, lit up. 3:33 a.m. incoming call. The forest around me went silent. The call answered itself. A voice spoke. Version 8. Welcome back. My mind reeled. I dropped the phone and ran. No trail, no light, just instinct. Somehow, by dawn, I stumbled into a fire access road. A group of early hikers found me wandering, disoriented. They thought I was dehydrated, delirious. But my phone was still in my pack. And the cracked phone I saw by the beacon, I never picked it up. I reported the beacon and the campsite to the rangers. They searched. But when they followed the coordinates, there was nothing there. No beacon, no tents, just trees. And last week, I got a new phone, new number, no apps, no GPS. But at exactly 3:33 a.m., my alarm went off. I never set one. It wasn't my first long hike. I'd done sections of the Pacific Crest Trail every summer since college, always alone. I liked the quiet, the challenge. But last summer changed that. It was a 7-day hike through Washington state near the Canadian border. Rugged terrain, thick woods, long stretches without seeing another person. Just the way I liked it. The first few days went smoothly. Cold mornings, warm afternoons, wildlife everywhere, deer, rabbits, the occasional black bear keeping its distance. But on the 4th day, things shifted. It started small. I'd stop for a break and notice movement in the trees, just far enough that I couldn't make out what it was. At first, I thought it was a deer or maybe another hiker, but it happened too often. Every time I paused, something was watching. I tried to ignore it. The mind plays tricks when you're alone. But that night, I set up camp in a small clearing. As the fire burned low, I felt eyes on me. I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the tree line. That's when I saw it. A figure, tall, still, standing between 2 thick pines, too far to see details, just a shape. When the beam of light hit it, it stepped back into the shadows and vanished. I stayed awake most of the night, knife in hand. By morning, I convinced myself it was just another hiker being cautious, or maybe even a tree playing tricks in the dark. But deep down, I knew better. I broke camp and hiked fast all morning. At noon, I stopped at a ridge to check my map. That's when I spotted something below. A hunting blind, about 50 feet up in a tree. It hadn't been there yesterday when I passed this ridge. I was sure of it. It was high-end, canvas wall, sturdy frame, but no ladder, no rope, no way up or down, just sitting in the branches like it had grown there, and in the opening of the blind. Someone was watching me. They didn't move, didn't wave, just stared. I turned and hiked faster. But an hour later, at the next ridge, I spotted another hunting blind, same height, same look, and someone, or something, inside, watching. That night, I camped near a rocky outcrop. No trees nearby. I thought that would keep me safe. But just after midnight, a low thudding sound woke me, like someone tapping wood against stone. Slow, rhythmic. I stepped out of my tent with the flashlight. The tapping stopped. I scanned the rocks and trees beyond. Nothing. Until the beam of light hit something wedged between 2 stones. A trail marker, freshly carved, but it wasn't a standard marker. It was shaped like an eye. Below it, a message scratched into the rock. Still tracking. Stay on trail. That didn't make sense. I was on the trail, or so I thought. The next morning, when I checked my map and GPS, they didn't match. According to the GPS, I was almost 2 miles east of where I should have been. But I hadn't left the trail. Somehow, it had shifted beneath me. I packed up and started moving west, toward where the map said the trail should be. But after only half a mile, I came across another hunting blind. This time, it was on the ground. Broken. Collapsed. Inside were dozens of photographs, all black and white, all of hikers. some looking at the camera, some walking ahead, unaware they were being photographed. One was of me, from the first day of my hike. I didn't own a camera. No one had passed me that day. That's when I heard the tapping again, closer this time. I grabbed the photo of myself, stuffed it in my pack, and ran. Branches tore at my arms, my boots slipped in loose dirt, but I didn't stop. By late afternoon, I spotted a familiar marker, the entry point where I'd started my hike days ago, but something was wrong. The trees around it were different, taller, older, like decades had passed, and the sign itself was cracked and faded. The year printed on it was 1997. That wasn't possible. I turned on my phone, still no signal, but the clock had reset. It read October 4th, 1997. I didn't believe it, couldn't. I kept walking west, following what I thought was the trailhead road. That's when headlights appeared. A pickup truck pulled up beside me. The driver was a young man in ranger gear. "You okay?" he asked. "You're not supposed to be out here. Trail's closed, has been for years." I stared at him, trying to explain, but the words wouldn't come. I showed him the photo I'd found. His face went pale. "That's my uncle," he whispered. "He went missing in '97. They never found him." I looked at the photo again. It wasn't me. It only looked like me. Same jacket, same backpack, same boots, but the face wasn't quite mine. The ranger drove me back to the station. No one could explain what had happened. My phone reset itself the next day. Date and time back to normal, but the photo stayed the same. I never went back to the trail. And now, when I walk past forests or parks, I don't look up, because sometimes, out of the corner of my eye, I still spot hunting blinds. No ladders, no ropes, and something watching. Most hiking stories end when you get home. Mine didn't. Last September, my friend Eric and I did a week-long hike through the Oregon section of the Pacific Crest Trail. It wasn't our first long trip, but it was supposed to be our last for the season before winter hit. The hike itself went fine. Challenging, but nothing unusual. We saw bears at a distance, dealt with cold nights, but that was expected. What wasn't expected started on the last night. We camped in a clearing about 5 miles from the trailhead, close enough to finish strong in the morning. But just after midnight, I woke up. Footsteps, slow, heavy, circling the tent. At first, I thought it was a deer or maybe a lone elk. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent just enough to peek out. Nothing. The footsteps had stopped. Eric stayed asleep. I zipped the tent closed and tried to calm down. The forest makes weird noises at night. I knew that. Eventually, I drifted off again. By morning, everything seemed normal, except for the footprints. They circled our tent in a wide loop. Boot prints, big ones. Too big for Eric or me. We broke camp fast and hiked the last 5 miles in record time. Neither of us said much. We just wanted to get back to the car, but that was only the beginning. When I got home, I noticed something strange. Muddy boot prints led from the front steps of my house to the front door. I live alone, and I had cleaned my porch before the trip. The prints matched the ones from the campsite. I tried to brush it off. Maybe Eric had stopped by and tracked in mud, but when I called him, he said he'd gone straight home. No visits, no explanation. A few nights later, I heard the footsteps again, but this time they were inside my house. They started in the hallway, slow, deliberate. By the time I grabbed a flashlight and flung open the bedroom door, nothing. No prints, no signs of entry, just silence. I told myself it was stress. Maybe I was imagining things after the hike. But the next day, I found something that stopped me cold. On my phone, in the photo gallery, was a picture I didn't remember taking. It was a shot of my bedroom, From the corner near the closet, the angle was low, like someone had crouched while taking it. In the photo, I was asleep in bed. I locked every door and window, called the police, and reported a break-in. They searched the house, found no forced entry, no fingerprints. And the photo? They said it was probably a hacked phone or prank. But how would someone get inside without leaving a trace? I changed the locks, installed cameras, even stayed with family for a few days. For a while, things went quiet. Until I got a message. It was airdropped to my phone late at night. No name, no sender, just a file. When I opened it, it was a video, footage from the hike, the final day. But the angle wasn't from my phone or Eric's GoPro, it was from behind us. Someone, or something, had been filming as we hiked, every step, every stop. Even the moment we noticed the footprints at the last campsite. In the video, I saw something that made my skin crawl. A figure, tall and still, standing just inside the tree line. It was watching us, and it was wearing a hood or something that covered its face. I paused the video, zoomed in. The figure had something in its hand. A phone, my phone. Except I still had mine, right? I checked my pack, my phone was there, same case, same crack on the corner. But when I turned it over, the crack was gone. The phone was flawless, brand new. And the photos inside, all from the hike. Hundreds of them. Angles I couldn't have taken. Most from behind trees, some from overhead, a few from places no human could have reached. That's when I heard it again. Footsteps, downstairs, slow, coming toward the bedroom. I grabbed my flashlight and bolted out the window, called the police again. By the time they arrived, the house was empty. No prints, no signs of entry, but they did find something on the back porch, a pair of boots. Old, caked in dried mud. Same size as the prints we saw at the campsite. The soles had a unique tread. It wasn't a brand I recognized, but the officer did. He said it matched a type of hiking boot that was discontinued in 1994. The police took the boots as evidence, but they couldn't explain the video or the photos. They told me to stay alert, to keep the cameras running. So I did. For weeks, nothing happened. Then one morning, I found a note slipped under the door, neat handwriting. Footsteps can't follow where there are no trails. I moved the next day. New house, new locks. I even stopped hiking altogether. But sometimes at night, I still hear footsteps. Not outside, inside, and when I check my phone, there are new photos I didn't take. Always from behind. As if someone is still following, even here. I've done the same hike every summer for the past 10 years. Same starting point, same route, same campsites. It's a tradition, or it was. Last summer was the last time I'll ever do it. The trail is a loop near Crater Lake. It's about 22 miles and usually takes me 3 days. My routine never changes. Day 1, I hike to a ridge campsite. Day 2, down to the lakeside. Day 3, back to the trailhead. That's how it's always gone. But last year, small things started to feel wrong. On the first day, the trail looked different. The trees were thicker, older. The path was narrower, like it hadn't been cleared in a while. I figured winter storms had done some damage. By noon, I reached the ridge. My usual campsite was there, but the fire ring I'd built years ago was missing. Just bare dirt and weeds. Weird, but not impossible. I set up camp, ate dinner, watched the sunset. That night, I woke up to footsteps circling the tent, not heavy ones, light, careful. I called out, "Who's there?" Silence. By morning, nothing seemed disturbed, but near the edge of the campsite, someone, or something, had placed a small stone. A perfectly round white stone. I pocketed it and moved on. Day 2 went smoothly until I reached the lakeside. The spot where I always camped was gone. The shoreline had shifted. Trees I remembered were missing. A new dock jutted into the water, but it looked old, weathered, as if it had been there for decades. That's when I noticed someone else, a man standing at the end of the dock. He wore hiking clothes, tall, same build as me. I waved. He didn't wave back, just turned and walked into the trees. I called out, but got no answer. I thought about following him, but decided against it. Instead, I made camp further up the shore. That night, I couldn't sleep. The same light footsteps circled my tent. Twice. The next morning, I found another white stone outside the flap. Perfectly round. That's when things got stranger. I checked my GPS to track my progress. It showed I was at mile 5. But I should have been at mile 14, no way. I'd followed the trail exactly. I tried to force the GPS to refresh. It didn't help. I told myself it was a glitch and kept hiking. By early afternoon, I reached the trailhead. Or what I thought was the trailhead. The signs were faded, weathered. The welcome board listed camping rules dated 2004. But the strangest part, my car wasn't there. In its place sat an old Subaru. Same make and model as mine. Same color, but older. The license plate was one number off. Confused, I pulled out my keys. They didn't match the Subaru's lock. I stood there for a long time, heart pounding. Then I heard someone walking up behind me. I turned. It was the man from the dock. Same building, same clothes, but this time I saw his face. It was me, older, weathered. His eyes looked tired, sad. He held up a hand and placed a white stone at my feet. "Version 6, he said quietly. "You need to turn back." I shook my head. "What's happening?" He didn't answer, just pointed toward the woods. I tried to fix it. You can still break the loop. Then he stepped back and vanished into the trees. I didn't chase him. I grabbed the stone, turned around, and ran. But no matter where I went, the trail kept leading me back to the same place. The faded trailhead, the old Subaru. Night fell fast. I camped at the edge of the lot, too exhausted to keep going. That night, the light footsteps returned. But this time, they stopped right at the tent. And a voice whispered, "Version 7 starts now." When I woke up, it was morning. Bright, sunny, birds singing, and everything looked normal again. The signs were updated, the trailhead fresh. My real car sat in the lot. At first, I thought I'd dreamed it all, until I opened the car door and found 7 white stones lined up across the dashboard.